Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Daily Mail's chief sports feature writer Riyadh Al-Samurai and the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Let's quickly run through the back pages as they reach us all the time. Telegraph lead with the transfer news that Chelsea have paid £5 million to send Sancho back to United. Fernandes snubs £200 million off from Al-Hilal, and they have the image of England's Ben Duckett alongside the words clean sweep. England whitewashed the West Indies. Also carry the news that Tottenham are open to HeungMin Son's exit amid Saudi interest. Inside the Telegraph, they cover England's women's loss to Spain and the shock news of Frank Kirby's retirement, which broke after the match finished in Barcelona. Times have Chelsea target French number one. The club make a move to sign Mike Mignon from AC Milan. And Palace hopes hinge on Lyon as Crystal Palace await on UEFA jurisdiction amid concerns about their Europa League spot. And John Textor has got an involvement in both clubs. And in the Sun, Bruno, family and Amorim, key to Fernandes snubbing Saudis. Grind never ends. Jordan Henderson pictured there in the gymnasium. Won't be easy, son or son. And Blues after Mignon again. Well, Charlie, welcome along. I'll come to you and your paper there with the back page. Bruno, family and Amorim, key to Fernandes snubbing Saudis. How much do Manchester United have Bruno Fernandes' wife to thank for this, and some probing questions she put to him?
Well, absolutely. I mean, finally some good news for Manchester United. Finally some good news for Ruben Amorim. And Manchester United's fans will be delighted with Fernandes. I mean, he was a hero anyway, but now he's just gone up another level, hasn't he? Because quite clearly he could have, doubled his money and some. And let's not forget, he's on, a half-decent wage at Old Trafford. But, of course, that doesn't always make any difference. If you've been offered £700,000 a week to play in Saudi Arabia, I'd say the majority of footballers would go for it. But Fernandes has spoken to his manager. His manager's begged him to stay. He's obviously spoken to his family as well, and he's decided to make that decision. And this is huge for Ruben Amorim, because I think that really strengthens his position at United in many respects. Not to say he was in danger or anything like that, but I think United fans will appreciate that he's had some sway over a key player, along with Fernandes' wife. For United to start building this summer, having that player still at Old Trafford and not in Saudi Arabia is obviously huge. It would have been an utter disaster if it have ended up deciding to leave.
Yeah, interesting quotes from Bruno, wasn't it, Riyadh? There's the Telegraph term it Fernandes snubs £200 million offer from Al-Hilal. Probably a little bit more respectful than that maybe terminology suggests. But Bruno Fernandes' wife saying, what are your career goals, was quite an interesting one. Your professional goals, wasn't it? How refreshing do you find this story? You cover a lot of golf as well. It's been a hot topic there. And usually people follow the money, but not this occasion.
Yeah, look, we know the kind of profile of players that the Saudis are looking for. They're wanting people closer to their prime years, and I think we've just seen from Bruno, even though he's 30, he's still absolutely the best player in that club by a vast distance, and that's even before you get into the leadership debate, having the sort of strength of personality. Because I think that's one of the aspects United would have lost most. I think when I look over that team, I see quite a few spineless individuals. I don't think they finish 15th in the league with the technical caliber of player they've got. If they had more people with Bruno's character, with his drive, with his refusal to accept some of these performances. So I think that aspect, in addition to what he actually brings as a player, is massively important to United. But going to the comments that he's made there, he's been very honest about the fact that his agent has met with them. He's been very impressed with Al-Hilal. I would be inclined to sort of take the view, yes, if someone's going to put sort of 200 million in front of you, 700 grand a week tax free, however it breaks down, you probably are going to have the conversation. But I think the fact that he was willing to entertain it, I do wonder if that maybe just puts a bit of a thought in the back of United fans' minds a little bit. Let's just say someone comes forward from one of the major leagues. I would still use the term more credible, competitive leagues. Someone comes forward. Are they able to turn his head? He talks about wanting to play in the big competitions. Well, United, yeah, of course, they're in the Premier League, but what are the signs that it's going to be any better next season? I'm really not sure there are any yet. They've made a move early with Cunha, but that's still an absolutely dire squad by United's standards. So has he still got an idea in the back of his mind that this is the club that he wants to be at? He's turned down Al-Hilal, but the fact that he was willing to meet with them, have the conversations, it does just make you think.
Does make you think. Unfortunately, Charlie, we'll never probably have to answer the question of whether we take 700 grand a week tax-free. But nonetheless, let's reflect on Manchester United. Riyadh's not overly optimistic about their chances. How do you feel, though? Is there reason for hope from United fans? We saw Cunha and Embomo pictured there. It's actually in connection in the Telegraph with Newcastle, but Manchester United have got Cunha, possibly Embomo as well. Fernandes staying. There's potentially goals there at least next season, isn't there?
They can obviously only get better. Embomo would be a terrific signing. It's a signing that you've been making over the last 2-3 years. A proven player, 20 goals last season, works really hard. And just quite simply, he wouldn't be a gamble. Looking at some of the players they signed, like Højlund and Xerxes, they were gambled. And they might still come good. But you know that Embomo would go into that team next season and add a real spark into United's attack, and they obviously need it as well. And the same with Cunha as well to a degree. Good solid signings. They're just going to hit the ground running. Of course, if they can keep Fernandes as well, I still think it might seem way off at the moment, but I still think Amrin could turn United around. I really do. It's obviously a huge task ahead, but I'm not writing United off. They're obviously not going to challenge for the Champions League next season, but they have to get better. They will get better, and it's good to see these are the type of signings that will make them a better side, and of course keeping the main man, their captain.
It's felt at times, hasn't it, Riyadh, a bit of a crisis of confidence amongst the players and even the fans at times. But as this Telegraph article points out, that Embomo has made Old Trafford his preferred destination. Alison Rudd's been writing in the Times to say that it could be United's Salah. What do you take on these developments coming off the heels of Cunha joining the club? Is it bolstering to United's collective ego that players still want to go there? Amazing for us to say that, I suppose.
Absolutely. Look, I made the point in a column a few weeks ago that people disagreed with, but I've tended to think that Amram's honesty can count against him in these scenarios. I mean, clearly he's not sharing any great revelation when he says United aren't very good. I think we see that replicated on a weekly basis across the season. We can make our own judgment, but I did wonder whether that was going to put people off. If you hear a manager speak in such, I would say at times Amarim has bordered on despondent in his comments about the state of this team and also the state of the club, how much needs to be fixed behind the scenes. It does raise that slight doubt in the back of your mind. If you're a player who has a sort of knife-edge decision to make, do I go, do I stay, do I need to be persuaded? And you hear a manager who expresses very little confidence in a variety of aspects about Man United, do you really want to go there? So this is clearly the fact that, it will always be Manchester United. It will always have that appeal. They will always be able to pay an astonishing amount of money relative to other clubs as well. So they are going to have that appeal, but it's possibly a little bit reassuring that sort of players like Embomo, for one, wanting to go there, being very keen to go there, then that is going to, that is going to be heartening. It is going to be reassuring. I think for United fans, one thing as well is that is very clear. They do need to have the goals. I think Cunha, is a very good start. They've done it early. And I think also the direction that they're moving in, they're looking for proven Premier League players. And when we do go back and look at sort of the Højlunds or Xerxes or guys who they've come and brought in who haven't actually delivered over here, there's always that little bit of an extra gamble. So I think that slight pivot in strategy is important. I wouldn't share any real optimism for a quick upturn. Anyone they bring in, they're still going to need to bed in. And we're not talking really about minor surgery at United. We're talking about an enormous overhaul, keeping Bruno sort of averts the worst elements of that. But they do need a striker. They do need to have a proper ball winner in midfield. Casemiro's earning a fortune. He had a little bit of a revival last season, but I think he needs to be replaced. I know they're looking at a backup goalkeeper as well. They need a centre half. We're talking about an entire spine of the team that needs to be replaced. So if there's a conversation about how much can United turn it around next season, I think it helps not having the European obligations around it. But I think they've got an absolutely massive amount of distance to travel, and that's before you get into the conversation about Amorim and what he's delivered. Because I've been really underwhelmed by what he's done since going there, other than serving up useful headlines for Charlie, myself, and all of the other media outlets.
Fair enough, Riaf. You've dampened down any optimism I tried to create there for the Manchester United fans. But let's move on, I suppose, to a player that technically is a Manchester United player. He won't be staying at Chelsea. Jadon Sancho, Telegraph Sports Supplement. Chelsea pay £5 million to send Sancho back to United. He was such a bright talent, wasn't he, Charlie? What's your gut reaction to this? Is it a bit sad?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it sounds as though that one of the reasons Chelsea are sending him back and willing to pay this £5 million clause is they can't agree personal terms with Sancho, which is a real shame because I'm not sure he's going to get to a better place than Chelsea at the moment. And, as you said, it's been a bit of a shame, his career so far. The last 4 years, it was after the Euros, Euro 2020 in 2021. He played in the final. He's not played for England since the loss to Italy, but he moved to Manchester United and obviously, arrived from Dortmund with a real great reputation. Had played some superb stuff in Germany, and it's just not worked. And some of that's misfortune, some of that is attitude. I don't think, quite clearly, Gareth Southgate wasn't always convinced by him, which is why he just stopped selecting him. So he's definitely not made the best of his career, and it's still not too late. Obviously, Chelsea rated him. So whether he then decides to head abroad again, but of course, quite clearly, the money is an issue and the wages that he wants. But equally, we shouldn't forget that, Sancho really did, he wasn't the first player, of course, to leave England for Germany, but he did make a big impact, and, others have followed. And of course, Jude Bellingham as well. So, he did sort of really, I think, encourage other players to do that. And he sort of, illustrated what can be achieved, if you do, move to another country. Because previous to that, there's not always been, that many players who are willing to take that gamble. But so far now, his career has gone backwards. And I think he's made a mistake. And even if it had been a pay cut, I think he should have stayed at Chelsea.
Interesting point. Let's get Sam Wallace's thoughts on the Telegraph, Riaf. We've got a break pressing, but wanted to get your thoughts on this. Sam Wallace writing, lost boy of English football finds future up in air again. There may just be about time left for the next act that salvages Jadon Sancho's career at the top. But in a game that moves as quickly as this, it will have to come soon for the one-time great hope of English football. He's only 25, but time moves fast in football. Riaf, what do you think he should do? What's the best outcome here?
I think you just made the point yourself there, Ted. He's 25. He's obviously he does have a chance to turn it around. But it goes to Charlie's point. How much does he want it? Why won't he take a pay cut? Why, I know it's easy for us to say with other people's money, take a pay cut, but why not? He needs this. United have now tried and failed to get rid of him twice. Dortmund, now Chelsea. People, this is a guy who is going to come in for him, who is going to be the club that swoops in and saves it. He's got to do this for himself now, because he is a brilliant player, and I like Sam Wallace's description there. He is the lost boy. He was absolutely astonishing. He was the kid of his generation, or certainly shaping into it. And then we move into this conversation about brilliant attacking England players out wide, central areas. he was in that conversation. He was that guy, and it's all just it's disappearing down the drain. I think the first thought about it is it's all quite sad. But again, 25, he's got time. He's clearly got talent. We saw that when he went back to Dortmund. I've not been convinced by him at Chelsea. I was actually quite surprised they were willing to offer him a deal of any description. To be honest, I think he's probably maxed out at about a 7 out of 10 there. He's had moments, but we do know that there's a player in there. I don't think his injury record is sufficiently bad that it's just disappeared. So what is it? How much does it come down to mentality?
Well, we wish Jadon Sancho the best and hopefully he does find a good fit for him. Gentlemen, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers. We talked about Manchester United captain staying, but a lot of conversation around Spurs captain. Tottenham open to Son exit amid Saudi interest, reports the Telegraph. Discuss that next. So welcome back to our guest, Daily Mail's chief sports feature writer Riyadh Al-Samurai and the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt. So Riyadh, come to you with the back page of the Times then, and news of a potential new goalkeeper for Chelsea, targeting French number one. Mignon could move from Milan as club considers alternatives to Sanchez and Jorgensen. How big could this be in terms of Chelsea's ambitions of winning the big trophies?
I think it's important. You don't win anything without a proper goalkeeper. I don't wish to be disparaging to Sanchez there, but he's had a number of high-profile errors this season. I think what would perhaps surprise me a little bit about Mignon, I think he's obviously a brilliant goalkeeper, but it's the age profile. He's a little bit older than what Chelsea have been looking towards lately. They've also got about 200 goalkeepers in the squad as well. So what does it mean for guys like Penders and Petrovic? And they've spent some very good money on keepers in the last, say, 2 seasons. I think they've brought in about 4. So they've been planning this goalkeeping review, and there was clearly a need to take a look at what they're prioritising, who they're bringing in. Have the decisions been correct? I would suggest that the turnover would indicate the answer is not. He's an excellent goalkeeper. He was in the team of the tournament at the last Euros. He's a France international. He's won league titles in two countries. I think he's a proven quantity, and he's a winner. He'd be good for the dressing room. I think it would be a good signing for them. I'd be amazed if they could sign him and keep Sanchez as well. I think he'd have to go to clear a little bit of room. But it's an interesting move.
Charlie, quickly on Mignon.
Apart from the fact that Chelsea are probably going to need a separate changing room for their keepers. What is it? It could be 6 now. Decent signing. It's been an really good week. So I think Liam Delap's a bargain at 30 million. But I think in terms of a goalkeeper moving somewhere, I think Brentford have done the deal of the week by getting Kelleher from Liverpool for 18 million. I think he's a brilliant keeper, and if I'd have been Chelsea, I'd have got him to Stamford Bridge. I think he's one of the in the top 6 in the Premier League, Kelleher, and not a gamble, and has been consistently good, obviously, for a good team. So, Mignon is who Chelsea are talking to at the moment. He's just got 1 year left at Milan, and solid keeper.
Certainly a solid keeper. And come back to you, Riyadh, with a fantastic striker at times. A Golden Boot winner 3 years ago. HeungMin Son possibly on his way out, though. Sam Wallace reporting in the Telegraph amongst other journalists. Tottenham open to Son exit amid Saudi interest. If true, what kind of legacy does he lead, Riyadh? He's been electric at his best, hasn't he?
I think it's absolutely huge. Winning the Europa League as well. Obviously, he didn't have a massive role to play in the final, and I think by his standards, this season has been a decline. He's had more injuries. His output has been reduced, but his legacy at the club. I don't think you could find a Tottenham fan who doesn't love Son. He's a brilliant player. He's a passionate player. His relationship his relationship with Harry Kane when they played together, that was iconic. Even if the trophy didn't come, I think, look, he's 32. They triggered the extension in January, I think it was, and that was, I would imagine, with one eye on resale value. I would assume very much that a decision in that direction will be taken when it's finalised about what's happening with Ange Postecoglou, who's going to be the manager next season, because I can't imagine that, for argument's sake, it's Thomas Frank or anyone else arrives and Son's gone. I think you'd want to have a bit of a look at him first, to be honest about it. But yep. He's a tremendous player.
He certainly is as well. And interesting that, Charlie, your paper says that it won't be easy, Son. Tom Barkley reporting Spurs may play hardball. But I want to talk to you about England's women now, Charlie, if we can. In the Telegraph, England failed to hold off Spain after key changes, lost in the Nations League. But the big news, really, that Fran Kirby's the latest England player to announce her retirement. What have you made of the way this has all played out, Charlie?
Yeah, another shock. I mean, it wasn't a particularly great evening for England, not a particularly good performance. They got penned in by Spain, really. We've got one more game before the Euros. And yeah, it's obviously a shame. She's, discovered that she's not going to be in the squad. But there's still a month to go. And that's what surprises me, really. That, with one more game, 3 or 4 weeks to go, anything could happen. So it appears from the outside that she's been a bit hasty. She's obviously been terrific for England. A great backstory, really fought hard. She's been an inspiration to younger players. She's had her health battles and bounced back and played in 4 major tournaments and been a real hero. Yet another just superb character that the Lionesses have produced over the last few years. I think it's a real shame.
Got about 30, 40 seconds, Riyadh, but some quotes from Fran Kirby came down, didn't they, from ESPN, saying she felt like she'd outstayed her welcome. What do you make of the way that Serena Wiegmann's handled this, with Mary Earps departing as well? In The Guardian here, the quotes from ESPN as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant sea change. I think the Earps one perhaps came a little bit more out of left field. Kirby herself, the situation's self-explanatory. If she wasn't going to be going to the Euros, it was time. But, she has used emotive language, dagger to my heart, but it's a weight off her shoulders. She felt she'd outstayed her welcome there. I think it's quite a dramatic ending for a player who I would clearly argue was one of the best of her generation. Lucy Bronze was describing her as mini Messi earlier, and I think when you go to her prime, that wasn't a massive exaggeration, actually, much as Fran Kirby apparently absolutely hates the nickname. But she has been a fantastic player for England and obviously at club level too.
Riyadh, Charlie, you've both been fantastic tonight. Appreciate your time on Back Pages tonight. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. If you missed any of the show, another chance to see Back Pages tonight at hour. Also available as a podcast. Download Back Pages on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So join us again Wednesday, when our guests will be Charlotte Dunker from The Times and The Sun's Jack Rosser. Up next.